sunlight, so cold, sleepless nights, so tired, my eyes fight, they just wanna close back up tight. Get up, hoodie on, hard work at the crack of dawn. This life ain't for the weak ones, no, this life pure only for the strong. Feeling slow, shake it off, don't got time for negative thoughts. Red sight, got the dot, shoot my shot, I want the top. Never lost, got my plot, know my story, I know my boss. I will fight against the clock, time's a limited gift from God. One day I will have my victory, crush all my enemies so viciously. Work so hard my hands are blistering, and they will carve my name in history.
Yo, what is up? We are live. What is going on, YouTube? Thank you to the Hardcore Sports Network for hosting me this morning on this wonderful StreamYard as we recap the wonderful weekend that was college football. I know I've been lagging on my channel, guys, not dropping videos. I just wanted to apologize. Happens in life, and I had to get busy. But at the end of the day, guys, I have to realize that if I really want to, make videos and do this YouTube video thing, I do want to come with content at least 3 to 5 times a week, and I'm gonna try to live by that code. That being said, guys, it's a pleasure having with me this morning. What's up, Raphael? Always good to see you, man. Always a supporter. If you guys can go check out Raphael's channel, I am going to open up the line in a minute. I'll drop the link if any of you guys want to call in. What we're going to be doing is we're just going to recap what was college football on Saturday. A lot of great games, and then of course the AP rankings is we'll probably talk about that too, because there being as much as I don't count the AP rankings, because it's really the the national playoff rankings that does count towards the end of the season. The playoff rankings does dictate what these teams end up becoming, in a sense. It can dictate the college football rankings, so that's why the AP rankings does play a big part in this. But it's not really as crazy as the end of the year rankings, the college football rankings. What really does count. A lot of interesting games to get to, guys. We're going to be covering a handful of them today, and then I'll probably just talk about the AP rankings and what my honestly thoughts about that is. I just dropped the link down below in the description, in the comments actually. If you guys want to call in. Let me get a fast hydration check before we get started today. I guess the first game I really wanted to talk about is that USC versus Colorado game. Being that I am a USC fan, I do want to touch on that game first. So let's just bring it up because we easily, we had this game in a wrap at halftime. This game was done at halftime. We could have turned off the electricity, saved some power to the stadium. But you have to give it to the Colorado Buffaloes and Deion Sanders for fighting back and making it a tough out, much tougher than it had to be. We was up, I believe, 41 points to 7 points at one time in this football game. And then he starts this wide receiver named Omarion Sims, I believe his name was. And the guy just murdered our secondary. Now, that is my problem with this team, is our secondary. We can't expect to play against the Georgias, play against the Michigans, play against the Texans, of the world. I was even going to say Ohio State, but I think we match up pretty good with Ohio State. But let's just go with those 3 teams, the Michigans, the Georgias, the Texans of the world, man. Those are powerhouse teams. You've seen what the Texans just did to Alabama a couple weeks ago and what they just did to Kansas State this season, just this past weekend. With that, though, our offense is one of the most powerful, explosive offenses in all of the NCAA. I'll go on a limb and say that we do have the best offense. We can score with damn near any team in college football, in the NCAA period. But that being said, our defense has shown to not held up. We gave up 28 points against Arizona State 2 weeks ago. Like, how are we giving up 28 points to one of the most, worst teams in college football at this point? Arizona State just got killed 0-28 from Fresno State, and we damn near give up 28 points. And even at this game, we have it in the bag. We have it sealed. Coming into the half, there was really no point. Let me just pull down this real fast so you can kind of see the box score. Where is it? That box score right there. We had like, we're up by a lot. We're up by a lot in the half, and then all of a sudden our defense just lets up, and the Sanders just does Sanders things. And then the offense, their explosive offense, just starts moving the ball on our defense, which needs help. We have a lot of great contenders on our defense. We have a lot of people that I believe could play on Sundays on our defense, such as your Bear Alexanders of the world, that defensive tackle that we gained from the Georgia Bulldogs this offseason in the transfer portal. I think you're going to see him on Sundays. I believe that, Gentry, our middle linebacker, that's 6'6", we're going to see him on Sundays. Our safety and Blackman, we're going to see him on Sundays. These are all notable first 3-round picks I'm just mentioning, And if you look at our D-line, I believe we truly have one of the better D-lines in the whole association, in the National Football Association, because if you think college association, because if you think about it, Georgia, Michigan, absolutely studs on defense, and I would honestly think that our talent can compete with those guys. Maybe not a whole defense, but just I believe we do have the talent up front to compete, but it's not showing up on the field, and that's why we're not even being ranked as one of these top defenses, which we aren't. We clearly are not. And that's the only thing that I believe, not the only thing. There's a lot of other variables that could happen. But that's something major that is going to hold us back, man. That's going to hold us back from championship hopes. And that's what I don't hope for this team. I don't hope that we choke again. Lincoln Riley, as much as I love you as a coach, as much as you can show up for those big time games, you've never coached an undefeated team. You know what I'm saying? And you lose the games that actually counts. I think you're like 3-1 in national games if you think about it, in bowl games, big bowl games that is, And I just hope that we can get it together. I'm not saying we need to win out, but we damn near close need to win out comparing where these other teams are being ranked above us in the AP rankings. And, when it comes to the college football rankings at the end of the season, they might have teams ahead of us like Florida State. And we have to beat teams like Oregon, beat teams like Notre Dame to even have a chance, beat teams like Washington. Because even at this point, Washington has jumped us in the rankings. I do want to touch on Colorado a bit. Colorado did an excellent job out there. Deion Sanders, he needs time. It's hard to build the program over 1 year. This program has won one game. You can't expect Colorado football team to just come out of the woodworks, get Deion Sanders and his sons and Travis Hunter and automatically just be a game record. It's going to take time. I think a lot of new college football fans got snapped back to reality over the past couple of weeks. I believe they do get Arizona State next week, so that's going to be a nice tune-up game for them. Having them smash Arizona State, and they do have a chance to make it really competitive against these other top-ranked teams that they see on their schedule. But just right now, they're not ready. They're not ready for the Oregons of the world. They're not ready for the SCs of the world. We're just a level up in competition right now, and it is going to take some time. So that's probably it for that USC versus Colorado segment, guys. I just wanted to touch on that game a bit, being that I am a SC fan. I'm sorry for that beeping in the background if you guys hear that beeping noise. Let's move into another game that I wanted to point out, another game that went right down to the wire, another game where Duke could have had it, but Notre Dame, pulled it off, being that the Fighting Irish is a really competitive team and really has a great roster in Sam Hortman and a lot of great other receivers there. They have a good running game. I believe they're coached by Marcus Freeman. I believe he's one of the, newer outstanding coaches in the National Association. And I really do like watching Notre Dame footballs. We're going to be matching up with them in a bit. That's going to be a really important game for not only our season, but most likely their season as well. Notre Dame has to win out. They have to win out the rest of the year in order to make any shot at the college football playoffs. That being said, they are going to be playing against Duke. They played against Duke. obviously. And they went down right to the wire. Now, I do want to say at the last snap of the game, Leonard did, I believe, roll his ankle, fracture his ankle. I don't have too much details on that, but I know he did get hurt, and that didn't cost them the win or anything. But I just felt bad for Riley Leonard. Hopefully he can get healthy and he can continue to carry this Duke program, because Duke is actually looking like a legit force. And Notre Dame got got one, lost a close one. Ohio State sneaked one from them, and I was expecting for them to come in and play hard football against this Duke Blue Devils team that is well put together. And they did. It was a good game. It went down to the wire, but then the better team did win at the end, and I can see Notre Dame, going in and giving us a good game, and they do play us. I don't know if they have Oregon on their schedule. If they do, that will be a fun matchup. I'm gonna check on that right now. Excuse me, fam. To just want to make sure if they do have Oregon on their schedule. Should have looked at their schedule before going live. They don't have Oregon on their schedule, but they do see Louisville next. Louisville just entered in the top 25 at 25. And then they see USC. Another team that is gonna give them a rough out is the Clemson. Clemson, they're not ranked no more, but Clemson always plays tough. But the one team that they really need to beat is apparently my team. It's going to be USC. If you're a Notre Dame fan and you're watching this video, USC is the team that you guys are going to have to beat if you guys have any shot at the playoffs. Notre Dame has a well put together team. They're all coached really well. Their coach in Marcus Freeman clearly showed you the past 2 weeks that he can coach against good teams and win big moments. He should have won that game against Ohio State, but teams like Ohio State, they just do that. They just do that. Just when you think they're out of it, Ohio State comes marching back and getting the victory. So I'm sorry to remind Notre Dame fans about that, but that is college football, and you guys did lose to Ohio State. So any chance that you guys have at college football hopes, you guys do have to win out. I believe you guys have a chance to win out. You guys will play us very, very competitive, like you guys play Duke, like you guys play Ohio State. And, it's just unfortunately that Leonard got hurt. Hopefully it's nothing too serious and he'll be back. But if I'm a Notre Dame fan, with Marcus Freeman, I'm absolutely loving what I'm seeing out of Notre Dame. And it pulls me to our next game we're going to talk about here. Now, this team came in, I believe, undefeated streak, but they haven't really played anybody. And then who did they get matched up with? Only what some people think should be the best team in the country, but is currently ranked second in the country. I believe they're ranked third now. Is going to be the Texans, the Longhorns, man. The Longhorns have been playing great football. We got Quinn Ewers, one of the highly rated quarterbacks, coming out this year. I know a lot of people, including myself, had Drake May above him, and not so much now. Drake May is struggling over there in North Carolina. But the Texans Longhorns football ranked third in the nation, going against this undefeated Kansas Jayhawks team. Now, Kansas, they did put up a fight for a bit until, they went against this powerhouse team like Texans. Now, I do want to give it to Kansas City, not different team. I do want to give it to Kansas State Jayhawks for, somewhat making it a competitive game at the beginning, but it just goes to show you how dominant Texas Longhorns can be. You know what I'm saying? Coming into this matchup, it wasn't gonna be that game where Kansas and I honestly I didn't think that Texas was gonna win by this. I thought it was gonna be a much closer game. I thought the Kansas Jayhawks was gonna put up more of a fight, but unfortunately I was wrong, and that's the thing in football. You get things wrong sometimes. Texans Longhorns did definitely, put up points, scoring 40 on this team. And at the end of the day, man, Texans is just competing. They're competing against all these teams that they're supposed to compete against. And, if you pull up their record right now, you know what I'm saying? The things that the Texans are doing is absolutely amazing. I get it, Rice. I get it, Wyoming. I get it, Baylor. But look at the score of those games. 10-6. That you're supposed to hold them. Sorry for the beeping in the background. You're supposed to hold them to that number. If USC was doing this, we would be ranked 14 too. We'll be the number 4th team. But the fact that we're giving up all these points, we gave up 42 to Colorado, guys. Okay, you're not gonna get ranked giving up 42 to Colorado. Let's just wait for the beeping noise to subside and then we can get back into it. But you know what? I'm just actually gonna talk over the beeping noise because I don't want no dull moments here on the stream. And then they got the big win against Alabama right here. This is the win that really put the nation on the Texas. I get it. A lot of people, a lot of hardcore college football fans already knew that Texans was going to be a powerhouse with the quarterback Quinn, with the receiving core, with the defense coming into the season. But at the end of the day, they went out there and they showed it. They showed it. They beat Alabama. And what's good, bro? I appreciate you being here, Reality Check. Let's get it, man. Always good to see you, my friend. They showed by the dominant team and going out there and beating an undefeated team like Kansas. They really showed Kansas who's the real undefeated team and who deserves to be ranked in the top 25 guys. Another note I do want to cover is Texas, man. They play Oklahoma. They play Oklahoma next week, and that's going to be a matchup. That's going to be a matchup. And I honestly think that Oklahoma should be actually higher in the rankings. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the AP rankings because the AP rankings has been absolutely BS, if you ask me. They're ranking teams so high like LSU. LSU shouldn't have never been at 5, okay? And how is LSU still ranked? Let me ask you that. How is LSU still ranked? That I don't understand. Another team, Florida State, I believe, is the team I want to talk about too. Now Florida State, nothing against them, great football team. They're looking damn good out there at Travis Hunter, but Florida State is ranked pretty high, and they should be. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be, but let me pull up something that I've seen that made me really think about it, like how they even ranked so high because if you think about who they beat, there's a lot of other teams that I think personally um should be higher. Obviously I'm not talking about I'm talking about who was I thinking of that I wanted to. It might not be Florida State. I apologize on this, guys. It might have not been Florida State. There was a team that I wanted to talk about that I seen like, whoa, why are they so damn high? Let's just come back to reality here. It actually is Florida State. It is you win against LSU. Where's LSU now with 2 losses? I'm not trying to be a mean against LSU fans, but Brian Kelly has clearly shown you he can't win big games. They should have never been at 5. And then you beat Clemson. Where's Clemson right now with 2 losses? So yeah, I get it. They lost to Duke, they lost to Florida State. I get it. Clemson is still a collegiate program, and I just talked about Notre Dame playing them. But at the end of the day, I mean, like, there's teams like Oklahoma that's ranked 12 that I get it. They didn't beat LSU's of the world, but at the end of the day, how is Oklahoma ranked 12 and they have a legit football team and LSU, Florida State is ranked 5th? I get it. Oklahoma has beat nobody. They beat nobody. Of course, Oklahoma is going to be higher because they haven't beat the LSU, the Clemsons of the world. But I honestly think that the committee needs to stop judging these teams on what they did in the past. It's a different year. I get it. You have Georgia at number 1 because Georgia hasn't lost like 22 straight games. They're like the 2-time national championships. But I think if Michigan plays Georgia, if Texas plays Georgia, right now they give Georgia a 1 for the money. Who's Georgia's playing? What does Georgia's schedule look like? Georgia ain't playing nobody, if you ask me. They got nobody on their damn schedule. Okay? So Georgia's clearly going to run the gauntlet, go undefeated again, and clearly enter as the number 1 team. Maybe they get surprised here or there, but they're barely making out of these games if you look at it, Let's just share the top 25 and review that for a moment before we get out of here. Just a short little episode on, capturing that college football. I've been watching a lot of college football, so let's just capture it. And if you guys like what you see today, and if you guys want to see more of this highlights, just this breakdown, let me know and we'll do more of them. But let's just look at it. We have clearly them being biased on Georgia, having them as number 1. I don't know why. Yeah, I said it. They won 22 straight. They're taking the 2-time national championships and they're putting it, adding it into this whole rankings. And that's why I said early on in the video, AP rankings, guys, they mean absolutely nothing. It's all about the playoff rankings at the end of the season, and they do mean something in the sense of they kind of help the college football rankings, the playoff rankings. At the end of the season, they can kind of deter other voters and stuff like that. But these are all votes, guys. These are all votes. These teams all get votes, and they're all elected people that vote them in. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I get mad and I get upset by it, but I don't really care too much about it to get that. To, whatever, that's the way I look at it. But it's fun content, so we're gonna go over it. We got Georgia clearly as the number 1 team, which I don't agree with. We got Michigan as the number 2 team, which Michigan should be the number 1 team. I think Michigan has an absolutely bomb defense. I think their defense can compete with Georgia right now, and they might even beat Georgia right now. So that's why I have Michigan at number 2. I have the Texans at number 2. I'm sorry, I have Michigan at number 1. I have Texas at number 2, and then I have Georgia at number 3. They have it Georgia, Michigan, Texas. I have it Michigan, Texas, Georgia. But at the end of the day, they do put Ohio State back up here at 4. This is where I disagree on that. I would not put Ohio State up at bat 4 because I think if a team called Oregon plays Ohio State, I think Oregon beats Ohio State. I think Oregon been playing good football. I think Oregon has a great quarterback in Bo Nix, and I can't wait for that matchup against Oregon as a SC fan. But I definitely would move Oregon up higher on this list. Washington above Oregon, I do not get. I do not get how Washington jumps to 7. I don't get how Penn State jumps to 6. I really don't get how Florida State stays at 5. Don't get me wrong. Florida State has a good football team, great quarterback, good coach, good defense, good all around. But come on, guys. I kind of like where SC's sitting at. We're still in the top 10. Our defense has been proven not to show up. So when our defense starts to show up, maybe we can actually, move higher up on this list. We did start the year at 5. We fell 4 spots. We went up to 6. We've traded spots with Ohio State a couple of times. But this is the way I look at it. If you don't lose and you play against good teams, you shouldn't move. So the fact that Ohio State jumped us and then went back to 4 doesn't even make sense. The fact that Oregon jumped us and we didn't even lose the game, but yet we got 42 points put up on that. It's all projected. It's all projected, guys. What would this team do against this team? Well, this team put up this much points on this team, but this other team, it's all with the voters thinking what would happen. Okay, running in the simulation that actually sees what would happen. I got Notre Dame right here at 10. I love that. Notre Dame is still a competitive team. They did go right down to the wire at Ohio State. Should have won that Ohio State game, but they didn't. But I digress. It's all good. Ohio State's proven that, beating a team like Notre Dame, and that's why I agree kind of that they're still in the top 5. They should be when you beat a team like Notre Dame, or all put together team. And Duke looked good themselves. So shout out to Duke against Notre Dame. We got the Alabamas of the world, the Oklahomas of the world. Just got done talking about Oklahoma. Yeah, they played nobody yet, but just watch out. Upset alert. I wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma beats Texas. Now, I think Texas obviously is going to win that game. It's at home, Texas is going to come out and pull it off late, but I won't be surprised. And Texas might even dominate Oklahoma. Oklahoma hasn't really have a test this year, so we'll see what happens with that. Washington State. This is a team that I would be placed with Washington. Nothing against Washington. I wouldn't move them up, but I would move Washington State right at 9. I'll move Washington to 13. I'll move Oregon to 7, SC to 8, and Washington State to 9, because Washington State has beaten Oregon State, and Oregon State looks like a legit team. Shout out to Pac-12 this year, man. Pac-12 just has a roster. I don't know why we just have ads about these shorts. I'm going to just pull that down a bit. We got some helmets, some Dolphins, some signed Dolphins things. But, getting back to the list, Oregon State does have a team. The Pac-12 is loaded. And for Washington State to go in there and to beat them, it's just absolutely amazing. DJ is at the quarterback too. There's Oregon State trailing right behind Washington State. And this is a team that just beat them. So Washington State is being disrespected, man. Definitely being disrespected by the AP, man. I think the AP needs to move up Washington State just a tad bit. North Carolina, Drake may have been struggling, guys. Hopefully, they play an easy schedule. They play Syracuse next. I wouldn't even be surprised if Syracuse beats them, guys. North Carolina, they get it together. Miami been playing absolutely good football. I love it. I get it. They haven't been playing a top cream of the crop competition, but who has? Look at Georgia's schedule. Jesus. Okay. Utah. This is a team that I wouldn't even put I put them higher. If you look at Utah and they lost, right? And then you look at these teams right here. LSU, this shit's how? When you have Air Force with one of the best defenses in the damn nation, not even ranked. You got Air Force not even ranked, but you got LSU ranked. Now, get it, people like, well, Air Force, who's Air Force playing? Air Force been smashing people. Who cares who's been playing? Air Force been holding it down. And I think Air Force 5-0 record should be on the list, but LSU that has 2 losses. You know what I'm saying? People are so biased on LSU, but they were so biased on SEC teams. Nothing against LSU. I have some friends that's LSU fans, man. And I just think that LSU, they're not that good this year. They have the roster, but Dan Kelly, I don't know what he's doing. They clearly have a roster this year, guys, but I don't know, man. And then you got Louisville top it off. Now let's see what happened here. Where's Air Force? Is Air Force getting any votes? Air Force got Air Force. There's Air Force. I think Air Force really should. Well, I think Air Force should become a top 25 team. We got Raphael in the house. We're gonna get Raphael's opinions on college football and just life in general. What's up, Raphael? Thank you for joining the show.
Hello, Zion. Hello, how's it going? Because right now I was doing some things on my job,
Mm-hmm.
but right now I get some opinion about the college football on Saturday, which is very important.
Please, please, thank you for joining the show, giving me a break from talking. I've been talking my mouth off. I was about to end it, and then we had you wonderfully join. So thank you so much. I'm gonna give you the mic, and I want to hear some of your games that you had fun watching, and what is some of the teams that you are looking forward to as this college football season continues.
I mean, perhaps for the college football, I understand about it because right now Texas and Michigan have made like a notable leap, so made it to the shake-up. I mean, it could have happened like this one because I know for a fact that the college football is getting hotter and is getting like very, very important. But there's another thing about it between the battle between Texas versus Oklahoma because the last time
Absolutely.
the Longhorns and the Sooners are going back to the matchup that's gonna have like a nostalgic feels like the 2000 heavyweight fights. Because
Ooh, I
remember
love it.
2000, because in 2009 the number 3 versus the number 20 Oklahoma to just rumble about 16-13. But last year Oklahoma just fell at 7 after allowing like 440 yards and 30 points per game. I mean, they had two bold offense have a huge days in the past week because Oklahoma just laying up for Iowa State. And while Texas in most of the conference since the Big 12, I mean, this could have happened. Like, it's like feeling like a throwback matchup for the teams for the historical rivalry with the massive implications. I mean, they have a 70 chance to reach the college football playoffs, while the loser will have a 30 chance. But also, there's another thing that about West Virginia because Brown is certainly pressured to win with similarly like September schedule, including Penn State, Pittsburgh, Texas Tech, and TCU. But many forget that every part of the season is don't go anywhere because the Mountaineers have returned some experienced players, especially on the defense. Because especially on the defensive front, including Sean Martin and the promising freshman Toiva George. I mean, the West Virginia defense has always shined during the start, allowing only 19 points. Even has the background on an offense, that's a very unit that has very struggled for much of his tenure. He has found ways to generate wins and positive vibes that are about the West Virginia.
Absolutely, and that was well said, and that's when I think of teams like West Virginia and like teams like Air Force, teams out there like that is playing good football. You know what I'm saying? And they're not even close to the top 25. And I know we just got done explaining the top 25, and I know the top 25 doesn't really matter, but it kind of does, you know what I'm saying? And like when we have teams like LSU, like everybody just loves SEC teams. SEC is the toughest conference in football. I understand that. But when you have so much allegiance at LSU and you rank them 5th in the nation, and you have a team like Florida State that comes in and beats them, you rank Clemson so high, you have a team in Florida State that comes in and beats them, not saying that Travis Hunter is not a good football player. Florida State doesn't have a team this year, but then you get jumped. You get jumped so high on the rankings, and that kind of messes everything up in a sense because we got a team like Washington State that's playing damn near good football. It's one of the most explosive offenses in the damn nation, and they go beat Oregon State, and they don't even see the lights of the top 15. They don't even see the lights of the top 10. You know what I'm saying? Not Oregon State, obviously the Beavers, not the
Yeah,
Ducks, obviously the undefeated. But then you have a team like LSU that's still Air Force undefeated, not in the top 25, one of the best defenses in the nation, Raphael. And yet LSU with 2 losses, still in the top 25. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, for the West Virginia, I mean, that was definitely like because it all depends for the defense and also the coaching and the
Mm-hmm.
quarterback. Because the West Virginia, I really thought that I got the big surprise for the college football, but I think this is gonna be like happen for the next few weeks. I mean, imagine
Yeah.
this for the West Virginia because I really thought that it's gonna be like another players or something like that, but I mean, they just really had because they had the best one loss team in the college football. There's Notre Dame, there's Oregon, there's West Virginia Mountaineers. I mean, I don't have anything about it because the Sooners had it a way to trip it, and also they just have it a way too far ahead to go win for it. But I think that, the quarterback Gardner Gill, just returned for the starting lineup
Mm-hmm.
after it's less than an ankle injury. But I know for a fact because West Virginia has been all strong teams despite the losses, as to consider about the close nature of those games because Texas Tech had some tough opponents with this
That's
season
a
when they
tough
played.
team.
Yeah,
Go right ahead, Raphael. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to say that that's a tough team. Go right ahead.
that's a top team, and this is one of the most entertaining teams in the college football because it felt like at some point they will fire Neil Brown in 2023, and all of a sudden like, they had 4-1. They have only lost for Penn State, and they only had one good team left on their schedule because that was at the time they was calling timeouts and they decided to score at the number two because there's no team in college football that takes the foot out of the gas because they don't want to back us to the serious red games. Because who really wants to know about it? Because it's changing the face of the college football because right now Penn State is the number 20 and they'll compete for the playoff of college football. And West Virginia just won the backyard brawl. And they're probably going to win between 8 and 9 games. I mean, that's a really nightmare for the college football for special teams. But I think that West Virginia, they have one of the best stories in the college football because they have a great testament to self-belief of those players because it's really inspiring. Because they're running out for a 4-game win streak. And right now they have their upset against TCU because I know the win total of this 4 is 5, but losses are losses. But the contest is sometimes it's college football. They have to bring it out for great stories.
And you know what, Raphael, you're absolutely right on this because that's what it is. It's the stories, right? And everybody wants the lovely Cinderella story and everything like that. The one thing that makes me upset is when you have a team like West Virginia, that's just figuring it out, that's regrowing a culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
That loses to a dominant force is Penn State. Like, where is Penn State now? I believe they're still undefeated, right? Penn State's still undefeated, right? So Penn State showed to be a powerhouse team. You said it perfectly, is going to compete to get into the college football playoffs. They're above us in the rankings at this point. And I'm an SC fan. I don't know how that happened, but that happened because
Yeah.
they so much about the full atmosphere of this is my problem I have with it. For the
Mm-hmm.
last 3 games, I gave my roses to Colorado. They played us really good. But for the first 3 games of SC, Caleb Williams sat at the half, and the game was basically over at the half. So all of these trash can points coming in the fourth quarter, it meant nothing, but yet it means something to the rankings. When we have a team like West Virginia that clearly goes on a third winning streak, clearly beating at TCU and not even ranked in the rankings, but we get a team like Fresno State ranked in the rankings. Like, nothing against Fresno State. I understand that Fresno State is undefeated, but who has they beat? Really? Whoa. The Nevadas, the Eastern WA, I forget what that stands for, Washingtons of the world, the Kent States of the world, the Arizona States of the world. Like, come on. They're just so disrespectful on West Virginia football because didn't we just rank Colorado in the top 25 and they beat TCU, and all of a sudden West Virginia beats TCU and nobody cares. They can't even clinch the rankings, right? Oh, they're hovering on the outside with Air Force. Well, why don't you kick LSU? You kick Fresno State damn near kicked Tennessee out of the damn rankings and make room for teams like the Air Force, teams like West Virginia that should still be in the rankings because nothing against the LSU fans. Everybody wants to talk about how LSU had a powerhouse team ranked fifth in the nation coming into the season, but at the end of the day, they're so biased towards SEC teams that they're still hanging in the top 25. We're a team with one of the best defenses in the nation with Air Force. The people like Air Force played nobody. Who has Fresno State played?
Yeah,
And
that's
you got a team like you were saying in I believe that is your team. That's why I believe you're talking about them. But you got your team in West Virginia that will put it up on again. Who do
yeah.
they lose against? Only a stud in Penn State. Who do they win against? Texas Tech, a tough out for any football team. Don't just overlook Texas Tech. TCU, a tough out for any football team. Pittsburgh, not the greatest, but still play stuff. And obviously, you should have smashed that. We're not even going to talk about that Division III team. But you get the point, guys. I think sometimes it's just so biased, these rankings, and that's why I don't really care about them. But it makes me so frustrated when exactly you have good teams like Air Force, you have good teams like West Virginia, and we don't know, guys. Go look at Air Force's schedule. They don't really play the cream of the crop, Go look at West Virginia's schedule. Look at these upcoming teams. They have Cincinnati, they have Oklahoma, they got BYU. Those are all going to be important wins for them, and especially the Oklahoma one. The Oklahoma one, if Oklahoma somehow beats Texas and stays undefeated, and West Virginia comes out in a good game against Oklahoma, it can mix up the whole rankings because one loss doesn't matter no more. A one-loss team doesn't matter now. A two-loss team, pack your bags, you out. Goodbye. You know what I'm saying? That was my experience losing against Utah twice last year. You know what I'm saying? SC, pack your bags. Good night. You can't lose 2 times and expect to go anywhere. But a one-loss team still has a chance, and that's what I was telling Adam. Notre Dame did lose to Ohio State, but barely by 1 point. Should have won that game. And when the committee looks at it at the end of the year, if Notre Dame wins out, beats the SCs of the world, you know what I'm saying? Beat some of the more harder matches up on their schedule. They clearly, if Notre Dame comes out there and beats SC, give them the ranking. I want to see them get that rematch against Ohio State because Ohio State and Michigan, they still got to play each other. You know what I'm saying? There's some other teams on the schedule that is gonna deter. So the whole ending of the playoffs, not playoffs, ending of the college season is going to have some mix and turns. Outside of West Virginia, though, I'm sorry to hold the mic so long, Raphael. Is there any other team that you maybe want to talk about a little bit more? You found probably interesting this season? A surprise team, maybe?
Yeah, speaking about Notre Dame, because I just saw they won against Duke, but I think they had the most concerned about the most because that drive to have it to go for the game right now, it seems that they have a very goal line defense, and
Yes.
the defensive line is very incredible at versus to do because they had to go for the power of the Irish. But I think that team as Notre Dame, I mean that it's very huge because they had a quarterback named Riley Norwood to 14 points and it's good about that. If you have it like this one, this could happen like to make it or break it because is it a concern that Duke wasn't able to stop Notre Dame because Duke has a very good defense, but they could win against Notre Dame because they start with a 24-year-old quarterback that came back to college because it's not like a top 3 round pick. He has only one player on defense that will get drafted, and they also have 3 players in offense that will get drafted. Though, so that's a good team. But I really that the defense of Duke was because they're really resistant about the football team, but it's kind of been embarrassed because I know because Duke is missing 2 key players, one in offense and one in defense, because that's where they come for. Because I know I had to go to the midst of the key players because that's a very excited team. But right now, nowhere near the college football had to play with the defense can change obviously with a huge test coming up for the Notre Dame. That's going to happen like this one because Lincoln Riley has shown up with a complete inability to make adjustments when he was in with with zero IQ, with Ismail as the go to start for giving, but they have the team with the 13 players on defense. How does it happen? Because they just watch it like at 1,000 football games since and never heard about that. I
Hmm.
mean, the Blue Devils, like the Duke, they're really surprised with all this team after the goes for the season over Clemson. But I would say that about it between of those teams. They have an incredible defense, but they need to improvement that about for the defense and the offense, especially for the special teams, including the West Virginia, because they had seen like a little improvement about the last year.
I agree, and I'm just looking at the schedule, and I see 4 out of the 6 games it's going to play them tough. Louisville's not going to fall; they're undefeated. They're going to play them tough. Of course, USC is the team that they have to beat. That's the team that they really just have to dismantle if they have any shots at the playoffs. You look at Clemson. Clemson's going to play backyard football, hard-nosed football, no matter who's out there. They're always going to play teams tough. And you look at Wake Forest. Wake Forest is not the best of all teams, but same like Clemson. Wake Forest is always going to show up. They're always going to play teams tough. Stanford and Pittsburgh, nothing against them teams. They Notre Dame should easily handle them, but Notre Dame does really have a shot at the playoffs. Beat if they win out. If they win out and they beat the teams like Pittsburgh, they beat the teams like Stanford in dramatic fashion, like they did against Central Michigan. Notre Dame does have a shot at the playoffs. For the last time, let's pull up the playoffs one more time. We'll talk about it, and then we'll probably get out of here. And I want to say thank you again, Raphael, for joining me on
Yeah.
this wonderful Monday,
Uh-huh.
recapping college football. If you feel like you can take time again next Monday, I'll schedule you in, and maybe we can do it on both channels, and we can recap college football on Mondays. I'll most be happy for that if you wanted to join me again next Monday. I'm trying to get more consistent on my channel and have more shows come on a more timely basis.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
Absolutely. So once again, guys, we have Georgia, Michigan, Texas, and Ohio State rounding out the top four. I would change that amount if it was up to me. I'll put Michigan, Texas, Georgia. How would you do it? Would you leave it, or what team would you put at number one?
Oh, because people are telling about it because of the four teams between Georgia, Michigan, Texas, and Ohio State.
Hmm.
But in my opinion, because in that order, I will say Texas the first one, uh, Ohio State is the
Daniel.
second one, Georgia number three, and Michigan at number four. Because probably the defense, it all depends for anything. Because I just see for the Georgia football defense, because despite for everything, despite for everything, I mean the defense that have to come to play because it's
That's
not
facts.
sure. Yeah, because it's not sure which offense they're to get. Because the most important is about the play good football, all the three aspects of that game. Because the most impressive was how CJ Stroud plays it against Georgia before it was drafted by the Houston Texans. But I see like everything how complete how the football works. Give me like a 13 with how they because the situation was very superhuman because getting the offense back with a chance of winning three times at the end is not very
Yeah.
normal. It's not very normal.
Yeah,
But
and that's what they're looking for, right? That three-peat also to add on to that. But go right ahead.
yeah, but I think that Georgia it might be not the best team at the country, but they show up hard to beat. I mean that Kentucky will challenge them about them. And the defense about the UCC will not then make it to the championship of Pac-12. But I know for a fact because they have not enough offense to keep it out with the UCN and they have no enough to slow it down. And I mean, this could happen like this one because I know the Michigan defense will smoke it a bit and Georgia wasn't a play a born because do you know how they will beat this one? Because Georgia has a better defense than Texas and UCE because and they still had the defense. They know about the standard of football they can play. I mean, Georgia will slaughter about the prime in Buffaloes because they don't have a defense. They don't have it because of the reason about the Georgia Tech right now. I mean, in the offense and the defense and the win against Auburn, I mean, how they get graded about it? Because in that
Yeah.
point against Auburn, that being said about the Auburn, I mean, this could be happening like this one because Even they had a look better Iowa football team because they had a very decent defense, and they forced the ball to the downfield because they play and work both sides of the ball. I mean, they're not gonna go to the turn of the to hit his nuts or anything, but I think this is gonna be happen like this one because if they're not the best team right now, they should be low. So in my final prediction, I always say this because right now Texas it will be the first place, then I'll go to the number two Georgia, number three Michigan, and number four Ohio State. That could be changing a lot for the next week for the college football. It all
Yeah.
depends on the defense, the quarterback, the wide receiver, and of course, the coaching, which is the biggest important thing. If they have a game plan to do it, well, they do it.
I absolutely love that. Absolutely. Good. Well said. Next rankings, we go 5-9. Let's go Florida State, Penn State, Washington, Oregon, SC. I definitely would, drop Florida State back. I would even move Penn State back, and I even move Washington back. Like, I get it. We just got done talking about Florida State and how good they were, but I see teams in this department that is, I believe, should be ranked a little bit higher. And even with Notre Dame, obviously Notre Dame shouldn't jump Oregon and SCs of the world, but you have Washington jumps Oregon and SCs of the world. I don't understand. Now I understand Penn State. Penn State could sit right there, but then I'll move Florida State back just a bit, and I'll take Washington completely out of the top 10. Washington will have a chance to earn their top 10 spot later on in the year when they do play teams like Oregon, play teams like SC. But at this point, I don't think that Washington State should be all the way up here when you have teams like Washington State should be above them. I get it. I get it why they were. But at the end of the day, I'm really high on Washington State. I think Washington State has a really good offense, and I think they should be higher. I'm glad that they topped the top 15, but I honestly think they should be higher. Raphael, from 5 to 9, from 5 to 14, would you change anything? Is there any teams that you want to see move up? Any teams that you have actually happy with the rankings? What do you feel about this?
So I would change it about it because Florida State, I mean, they have a great offense. So I
Mhm.
would have changed the Florida State could have changed it all. The only concern I had to go for is the Penn State right now because I really see that the more consistent about that. But I think that about the defense of the Penn State that will go for it. I mean, they have so many thoughts about it because they have the best defense in the country. But the weakest blessiness to the day for the offense, but expect to be better because they're gonna predict at 11-1 with against either UCU or Michigan because that's what they go for it because they had the perfect scenario. They know for the top fit pie for the defense. I mean, they keep breaking sort of the havoc of the games, but things are going more for the other side for the ball. And I would love to do the change of the Washington to the number six of Oregon. The skill is still the same. UCC is gonna be still the same because it all depends for the defense. And for the Notre Dame, that I will tell you because right now they have the great defense right now. And the number 11, I mean Alabama. Oof, that's really tough to do it because
What up, Coach? Thank you for being
yeah,
here, my man.
yeah, I had to go for the Yeah, I have that as a coach right now because that time because it's gonna be seen because the defense will work out against one because imagine how gonna better the offense troubles came for the United defense because the defense is laying out for the teams for the strength because that's the second year air roster of the defense that's gonna happen like this one. And the number 12 they had Oklahoma, which is very important. So I will not change about it. The Washington
Mhm.
State, I mean they have a great defense around this year, so don't be surprised. It's gonna be like a shocker this year. And for the North Carolina Tar Heels, I mean Tar Heels are very huge, and don't be surprised that it could be like a game changer at about for the defense. I mean it
I
could.
love that.
I mean it could
Sorry,
happen.
Absolutely, I love that. And I just want to touch on North Carolina for a bit too. It's like Drake Mayer, he is struggling, but their defense is holding them in the game. So absolutely going to be a tough out against Syracuse. We see what happens there. Like we touched on earlier, that Oklahoma versus Texas game is highly important. I think Oklahoma actually has a chance, but Texas does play at home, so that's going to be a tough out for Oklahoma. I would love to see Washington State move up on the list, being that they did beat Oregon, and I do want to agree with you. As much as I was hating on Florida State early on in the show, I do believe that Florida State does have big wins. Whether you want to, I don't really believe that LSU is that good this year, but the nation does. So they did beat LSU and they did beat Clemson, so they have a definition to be there at fifth. Penn State did handle West Virginia. We just got done talking about West Virginia and a lot of other teams in their wake. So Penn State does seem fine to me, but I do agree I wouldn't move them. Now that you spoke, I do kind of change my mind on that. But with Washington, I'll definitely move them out of there. I don't think they deserve to be in the top 10 right now. But like we digress. It doesn't really matter at this point. It all matters when playoff rankings come out. Then
Yeah.
we got 15 and 19th. We got Oregon, Ole Miss, Miami, Utah, and Duke. What's your thoughts on this list? I'll let you go first.
Oh, for the Oregon State, I mean, those
And let me
guys.
know if you want me to go further down, if you would move any of these teams up or down. We don't have to do five at a time.
All right, so Oregon State, I would say that they're gonna still. Ole Miss is gonna still. Miami is gonna change. Also, also for the Utah, I think it is gonna still. And Duke after the loss against Notre Dame, I think it's gonna still the same because it all depends for the defense because it's gonna move in, it's gonna move out. But I think it is gonna be the biggest change because after Utah, I mean they're gonna drop in low. For the
Yeah.
defense and offense, it could be like tremendously horrible because they don't have the enough passion and power to beat enough of the college football. I would say this up. Utah could be down low, just like at the two positions a lot more.
Yeah, I agree on that. I'm not too happy with this one. I like Oregon. Oregon State deserves to be there. I think Miami should move up. Ole Miss just won against LSU, but that's just them being SEC bias and loving LSU. So of course, Ole Miss is gonna rank high off of that. Utah and Duke. Duke should stay. Notre Dame is a tough out, and Utah's still a tough team. But when we have teams like we talked about earlier that we're gonna get to, teams like Air Force that's not in, teams like West Virginia nuts, and this gets me mad. And I guess I'll start at this side of the list. It gets me mad when I see teams like LSU still in the rankings, when I see teams like Tennessee somehow in the rankings. We have teams like Fresno State. Nothing against Fresno State, but if you're telling me that Fresno State deserves to be in this rankings, why can't Air Force be in this rankings? Air Force has a dominant defense. They're not playing against top 25 opponents, but either Fresno State isn't either. Let's give coach's comment some love. Y'all giving me an idea I should release my top 25 via live stream. You know what, coach? I absolutely think you should, because that's what I kind of wanted to do too. Because these top 25s, man, they have been all over the place. They're ranking teams too high coming into the season. And then when teams beat them week one, they're just jumping everybody, being in the top tens. And it's absolutely getting ridiculous. These votes, I know because you a long time veteran of watching college football. I slowly got into it over my years. And you've been watching it for a longer, and you know how these teams affect these schools, and you shouldn't just be throwing teams in, jump in 15 teams just because they beat LSU. I don't, I don't understand that. And then you still have LSU in. I was going on a rant right there, Raphael. I
Yeah,
apologize on that. I'm gonna let you talk.
yeah. Between of the Fresno State, I mean, this is gonna be like really interesting because right now they're facing against Wyoming. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of bold take, but about it to get into the playoffs and maybe they're gonna pull off an upset over UCA or something big because they're likely are going to win because there are seven more name brands that can win it. Because I will tell you, because that's gonna be like a bold take, and they'll have like the longest win streak in college football. I mean, you can call it because right now Fresno State had 5-0, so they're gonna be like a longest streak ever in the history of the college football because it all depends because about it. Because I think it's gonna be ranked for the base of the beating Big Ten and Pac-10 boats.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's gonna be like a fun league. I mean, it's getting larger because it all depends for everything that about the defense and the coaching. Because it's how they had the advantage, the cyclones to the because in the case of the point right now, I mean, they gotta jump it. They gotta jump it and they're gonna make it or break it, everything, because everything is possible to have the upset against UCSC because it all depends for the offensive and special teams. They're gonna elevate for the best near level.
I absolutely agree on that. Is there any final thoughts, Raphael, before we end this stream? Thank you guys all for joining us. Really, I highly appreciated it. And thank you, Ralph, for hosting it. Is there any final thoughts? Is any teams that you do like that you are rooting for outside of West Virginia? Because I believe you're a West Virginia fan. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know we talked about the Texas versus Oklahoma matchup. We covered Notre Dame. I went on a tangent about our defense at SD, how we need to play better. We respected Colorado's game. I'm looking forward to see that story on how it pans out when he does get some transfers. And Colorado is going to be a dominant force in future games to come and future years to come. I think we wrapped up everything. Is there any other team that maybe I didn't touch on? We didn't say Alabama once. Do you want to touch on Alabama, or do you think that they're just struggling right now? But Alabama's still going to be a force reckon with. They shouldn't be slept on. And I just brought them up because we can't. I mean, like we just went 55 minutes without mentioning Alabama, so that's kind of shocker. What's your thoughts on Alabama and how they're doing this year, Raphael?
Alabama
And we'll
for
wrap it up.
yeah, because right now for the Alabama, it feels like they have the biggest shocking right now. But the defense is still very much like a college football player contender because they're
Yeah.
going to continue to impress to the win against well Arkansas because the defense is getting better and better and better, and Matt Johnson is looking he has control out about the defense because it's gonna be like until to the end of the West race, and that really comes for Cal Field because the Alabama team isn't world beaters on the defense and has been said about it. Who knew it's gonna be like a high scoring game? Because it might be it's gonna be like this one because they roll over all and miss because the tie flats his muscles about the offense because that show up even at the Alabama don't talent. Their talent can overwhelm teams. And the
Yeah.
best offense is like a good defense because period because they all know because the defense win championship. And Jalen Murrow is the best quarterback because the dynasty is gonna be far from all because I mean next seven at about for defense in Alabama, they're gonna be like a strong contenders. And don't get me wrong about it because Alabama, they have to bring the best of the best of the best of the best defense because they have the greatest in the college history. Because it's
Yeah,
gonna
I mean, like, I'm not to interrupt you, but you just look at who they got down back there at safeties and the cornerbacks departments and Kool-Aid and all those guys. I mean, like watching that game against what was it, Mississippi State, and seeing I forget his name, but he missed on a play or something. He just went 3 and out, right? And then seeing
yeah,
them mess up on the play and seeing Nick Saban fully yelling at them because he expects so much out of these safeties, out of these cornerbacks, out of this defense. And I love that you brought that up. I'm gonna let you finish, and then I'm gonna make a fast point about Alabama, and then we're out of it. Go right ahead, Ralph.
hmm yeah. I just wanted to say that thank you everybody to join us at the chat, and of course
Absolutely.
I know that I know that I'm gonna into it to the college football because those teams can really improve about the defense. But I guarantee you about it because right now it all depends for the defense because we all know that the college football is just like it's just like everything's happening because every Saturday at the morning, at the noon, when everybody's go to the TV and then watch the college football because we want to see the bright future before getting to the NFL because we want to see like a brand new players, rookie, like the safeties, everything because especially if we can do like a film study about those players before the draft in April, before the draft in April, because we want to see who's gonna be like the best safety? Who's gonna be like the speed, the intensity, the aggressivity? I mean, who's gonna be like the good, the weakness? I mean, everything.
You're absolutely right. Thank you so much again, everybody. Thank you, Raphael, for joining the show, man. And always a pleasure having you on.
Yep.
You know, we had Reality Check here. We had Daniel here. Of course, Coach Ed. Thank you so much, Coach. Make sure you guys go check out his channel. Covers everything football from NFL to college as well. And you guys know he's going to be doing his top 25. So make sure you go check that out. And obviously sub to Raphael as well. Always a great pleasure hosting the show with you, Raphael. And thank you so much for coming on. My last point I wanted to make of Alabama, you know, one loss doesn't mean nothing nowadays. You know, you have Tennessee, you have LSU, you have Kentucky now on your schedule. Oh, they've been on your schedule. All banked now. I don't know if LSU is going to carry that rank much longer, but you know how the nation feels about LSU. So if Alabama wins out, maybe Ohio State takes a loss to Michigan at the end of the season. Maybe Notre Dame takes another loss. Who knows? Maybe we lose to Oregon, or maybe Oregon loses to SC. Anything can happen. So that one loss, when teams like Ohio State has to play Michigan, when teams like Oregon has to play SC, when teams like Notre Dame has to play all these other fashions of football, and we all know that Georgia's has the easiest schedule ever. So Georgia's going to be there. But that being said, Alabama fans, Crimson Tide, dominant force, still one of the most respected programs in collegiate football. Absolutely love what Nick Saban does down there. One of the best coaches of the football in any level. Everybody wants to talk about the Miami Dolphins. Who cares? Nick Saban can come right now and get a team and coach in the NFL because he had nobody on the Miami Dolphins. I didn't even think Bill Parcells could coach that Dolphins team. That being said, guys, have a blessed day, and thank you so much for joining us.
All right,
Yes,
have a good one, folks.